edition of Truth to Power, and we survived this election. There's a lot of people that kind of had a lot of thoughts about this election in Detroit, and we made it. Today is 3 days after the election. Today is the 8th of August, and we made it. And a lot of the candidates that were running for mayor and also for city council in the city of Detroit made it as well. But today we're gonna, touch upon a little bit about the election, the what happened in terms of a lot of people that did vote and a lot of people that didn't vote, and we're gonna get an opportunity to go and find out about what happened in various cities, including Detroit, also cities in Oakland County, Pontiac, and also in Southfield. And if you'd like to call in, you can call in and give your assessment about some of the issues that you were concerned about with this election, and then also about what's going to happen in the upcoming general election that's going to take place in November. But before we get started, just want to give a quick shout out to a couple of people. One, I want to give a shout out to a dear friend of mine, Mr. Roosevelt Clark, who watches, Truth to Power. And he had indicated, I was recently at an event with him, and he came up and was telling me about how he loves the show. And I want to thank him for tuning in, and also to say some prayers for a couple of friends of mine. Keep Carla Wallace in your prayers with your prayer partners, and also Tracy A. Blakely. She's having surgery today, and keep her lifted up in your thoughts and prayers as well. But today, let's touch base. I've got two of my partners in this election process, in the voting process, and in the political world. I don't think they're strangers to anybody now, because they've been, my partners for the last several months, and that is Mr. Norman Clement and also Mr. Joe Person.
How you doing?
But I want to kind of delve a little bit, and I do want to thank both of you for being on the show with us today. But Joe, let's get a little bit of, your assessment about what you observed, what your innermost feelings about what happened on Tuesday, and where do we go from here? Let's pretty much talk about what happened in Oakland County, please.
Okay, let's start with the Pontiac election. Mike McGinnis won by almost 1,000 votes or better, and Kermit Williams came in second place. The uphill battle for Mr. Williams is you're going to have to get at least 2,500 votes and then some to beat the front runner, which is Mr. Mike McGinnis. It was about campaigning. It was about the ground game, get out to vote. Also, they had 9 people in the race. Mm-hmm. So maybe if those folks hadn't got in the race, it might have been a different outcome. Most importantly, I had always said, who is the third person in that race? And that was Alexandra Riley. She got over 900 votes. Whoever she sides with, Mike could possibly win it all. If she decides with Mike McGinnis, it's over with. It's a wrap. Mm-hmm. But the other folks, Gil Garrett, there were several other folks.
Deidre
Waterman. Right. All of them have. Deidre Waterman got 500 votes. Gil Garrett got 400 votes. You put all of those numbers together, they might could, have a real shot at. If they side with Kermit Williams, he'll win it. If they don't side with him, side with him and go with Mike McGinnis, it's over with.
Right. And if I was Kermit Williams' campaign, after that, getting through, the next call I'm making is the next third, fourth, fifth, sixth in line about how far as how to build a coalition together to get through the races. That's what every strategic planning organizer was done.
We've had that phone call, and that's what he was doing. And
Right.
it's right at the first, second, and third calls was
Yes.
to the person that finished third, fourth, and fifth.
Absolutely. And Kermit is an organizer, known for a long time, and he's a ground game. And, speaking of, it's hard to develop a ground game, especially with 9 people in the race. It's one of the most toughest things you could do. But the interesting with Oakland County, the reason why I watched that race is because, one, it mirrored the Detroit race.
Yes.
It mirrored the Detroit race just as you see it before. And talk about Pontiac, the scopes, the differences, the challenges are coming down on Pontiac. What's next for Pontiac? That mirrors for what's Detroit. And so how the citizens move a little bit, as they say, is the center of the universe, as some folks will say it, but at the same time,
Because Kermit always says
they always say
every time Kermit comes on the show, he says that.
yeah, I'm from Pontiac, from the center of the universe. But Pontiac mirrors, the community mirrors the same thing was going on in the city of Detroit. So that race I was definitely interested in. I'll ask you about the Southfield race.
As we say in Southfield, he says he's the center of the universe. Southfield says we're the center of it all. You know that. So everybody wants some attention and want the center. That race was to be expected. The mayor, the incumbent, won by 2,000 votes. Sylvia Jordan did an excellent job, but here's the thing. If she won the election day vote, and I'm almost sure it is, I'm waiting for those numbers to come in. In fact, someone had looked them up, and I kind of left out the house without the notes. She won the election day vote.
Oh,
And if she's won the election day vote, the message that she put out, she has to stick to that and keep working that, because the first election that Congressman Rashida Tlaib had in the 12th congressional district, everybody was saying she was behind because of the absentee vote and everything. Her game plan was all of us go vote election day. Election day, she wiped out the absentee vote. So the same thing with Miss Sylvia Jordan. If she's going to win this, she's going to have to win it with a get out the vote. Her Go TV has to be something that we've never seen before.
and something about election day voting and early voting, I noticed that, and I'm just kind of using my mother. My mother was an absentee ballot voter for a long time, until recently, and so there's a lot of folks that want to surrender their ballot and go in to vote in person, and that's a real thing coming back right now, because they want to make sure they vote counts, and especially with our seniors and our older folks, they're actually getting up, going on early voting sites, or going on election day to vote, and that's one thing that we could look at, looking and seeing right now in these races.
And see, one of the things, not to cut you off, Joe, but one of the things too is that you look at the difference in the two races between the Southfield mayoral race and the Pontiac mayoral race. In Pontiac, it's an open seat. In Southfield, you've got a former city councilwoman running against the incumbent, Ken Cyber. So that's where a lot of people realize there's a big difference, because as you both know, it's a little bit harder to beat the incumbent than it is in an open seat where anybody could win it, versus the incumbent who may or may not have done a good job in his or her position, that people may be saying, hey, if it ain't broke, why are we trying to fix it?
That's what's being said a lot in Southfield. We may have some concerns with Mayor, Ken Cyber, but a lot of people are saying it's not enough to throw the baby out with the bath water.
That's actually poignant, because I was looking at that race and seeing how that was going on. The same sentiment I'm hearing too is that, okay, everything's not that bad. There's a lot of circumstances around Southfield, and so they're looking to give them a benefit of the doubt. But to November coming up, again, I tell every person, run like you lost. Run like you're the underdog. This is not the time to rest on your morals or your victory. Okay, now this is where the real work to do is really convince people to join your side and also improve on the mistakes that you made.
Let me throw this in. I think that a lot of the elections across the country, in predominantly African American communities, they're going to have what, and I'm coining this first, the Kamala Harris syndrome. A lot of people are upset because Democrats did not support that Democratic nominee like they supported Joe Biden in 20, like they supported Hillary Clinton in 16, and of course President Obama in 2008 and 12 or 11. They're angry, so we're gonna vote for somebody. That's what I saw in Detroit because I was out there on the ground, for one of the candidates, and they were saying if they weren't going for example Mary Sheffield, a lot of folks were saying, well, I'm going for Chantel Jenkins. Remember, she blew up in the last 2, 3, 4 weeks, and Mr. And Solomon Kinloch only beat her by 1,100 votes, 900 votes,
400, a little over 800 votes.
right, 800 votes. So people are angry about what happened to Kamala, and they want to take it out on somebody. No disrespect to what Kinloch did or some of the other folks, but right now, women are upset. Black women in particular across this country are upset about what happened to Kamala Harris.
But also, black men are looking at this, and this is we're at the FAFO moment.
Yes.
And
yes.
so we talked about this weeks ago, where there's going to be a benefit of a bump of we're looking for those who fight. And in the Detroit election, I got to give kudos to Mary because Mary did something where organizers and people talk about doing, but she actually did. She ran 3 years ahead of time. She walked the streets. She talked to the people. It was already a conclusion that Mary was running for mayor. But she also did the work. The work of being in a relationship, being everywhere. People saw the face. Even New Detroit saw the face. So they see a refreshing mayor. Kinloch may have did the big intro, the big everything that he had, the Fox Theater, the parishioners, and everything like that. But the follow-up that staggered a little bit. Chantel also was on the ground doing the work, and that bump was right there. And you look at all those 9 candidates that are on that race, I can see, looking back at it now, 3 candidates, probably 3 candidates should have been in that race.
Exactly.
And, and actually they probably hurt Chantel in those races. And we also got to look at how they finish. Some campaigns finish very disappointingly, but also the real, I consider the real elephant in the room is that so many polling suggestions were wrong. So many polling places that I'm thinking about, far as Mackinac, I'm thinking about WDIV. You had candidates that were not involved on the panel discussion, and you look how the races finish. Wait a minute. How y'all get that? How do you get your polling correct? Because I'm looking at it as Craig was one who went into this, and Durhal was on the seats, but Todd Perkins never was at the candidate debate of those major corporation candidates debates that they have in Mackinac and in Detroit. And so we got to look at this is a future reference for anybody running for office or anybody doing polling or having some panel discussions. Everybody should be voted. Everybody needs to come to the panel discussions. Let the people hear from everybody. And you just can't make something up there, make something that happen and think is going to happen.
The only my poll that I did was right. I picked all of them. Everyone how they finished, I picked them 2 weeks ago. The same with Pontiac and Southfield. When you're out on the ground, ladies and gentlemen, see, these are folks that are sitting in a room that's talking or calling different people. And here's the thing about when they do a phone bank call. The phone keeps calling until they get to a person.
Absolutely.
So that means absolutely nothing. But I talked to Sister Sadie, Mr. Wilson, Mr. Tony, Mr. Jackson, Miss Jackson. They all said, if I'm not voting for this person, this is who I'm going to vote for. Todd Perkins did well. You know why? Because he's the people's champ. I can't think of how many commercials over the last 10 years that where he was fighting for somebody that was an underdog and winning in court. So again, I said, remember I came and told you it was a week before last, everybody's auditioning. That's the corporate, that's the city attorney right there. You know, you got other people on there, Miss Jenkins. All of these folks are awesome. Now they need to sit down and say who they're going to get behind, and let's go.
Well, and that's the thing, because just like you were saying, there's what's next for those other 7 candidates that ran for mayor. What's next for other candidates that ran in the city council races? And that's where everybody has to sit down and talk about, because just as you're saying, Joe, Norman, what's next for a Todd Perkins? Like you mentioned, it could be city attorney, could be corporation counsel,
Attorney General.
could be attorney general. So there's a lot of things that people need to really sit down and think about as to what they may see next. James Craig ran for governor several years ago. That could be another possibility, even though when he ran, he was running under the Republican ticket. But the thing is that a possibility in his horizon,
I mean,
that he
Craig-
may run again next year
Or as an independent.
or
He
as
is
an
done.
independent.
Gentlemen, I'm going to call it like I said. He is done. Stop. All of this keep on running. Listen, he got thrown off the ballot because they didn't get the petitions right. That's one bite of the apple. You've run now again. You didn't even finish. And what was the number?
He was in the top 5. Remember, he finished
He was
5th.
number, no, fifth.
Fifth.
Okay, 5. So that's that. People didn't come through. Okay, so we need to stop. We need to stop. At some point, you got other candidates that have run. They keep on running. The 13th congressional district. While we're here, gentleman lost twice, didn't make it on the ballot the last election. Is running again. Stop. You know, that's Adam Hollier. I call a spade, like I said. Oh, and let me give y'all the reminder. Anything I say, do not hold this station accountable. Mr. Griffin, Mr. Harris, anybody that's Mr. Watkins, anybody. This is Joe Person, chair of the Oakland County Democratic Black Caucus, as well as the chair of the Southfield Lathrop Village Democratic Club. I am out there in the streets where it's really happening at. So the polls that we take really count, not what somebody says. And when you get an opportunity to run for office and you don't do what is required, you can't keep coming back to me saying, get behind me. And can we change, and while we're talking about that, let's go to the governor's race. What about that?
The governor's race is going to be interesting. I was going to pivot to District 2 race.
Well, let's go to District 2 and then come back.
We come back. I was going to pivot to District 2. But I know that there was an interesting race with Helena Scott,
Yes.
the incumbent Callaway, but also a former incumbent, Roy McAllister. McAllister and Callaway went through. And I got to give kudos to Roy McAllister.
Yes.
I gotta give kudos. I appreciate great campaigning. Roy was out there by himself,
Morning, noon,
in the
and
night, hitting doors. And what I appreciate that about this race is interesting because we got 2 great candidates that could care about District 2. Because with Roy, once he lost to Callaway, he could have easily went back, recruits, he could chill a little bit, whatever. Roy kept contact with the community. Roy kept going to the meetings, kept meeting people, being involved. In some way, shape, or form, he was there. And so when Roy stepped out in this race against Helena, now, I mean, Helena's no slouch either. He stepped out and said it wasn't about the money. He had signs. I'm going to do it myself. He went to every single doggone neighborhood, walked up down the street. I saw that man 5 or 6 times out there when we was out there.
Well, we got a call, Norman, Joe. Carly, you're on Truth to Power.
Oh man, how y'all doing?
I know that voice.
We know that voice.
What's on your mind, young man?
Well, we had a great talk a couple days ago. I just wanted to further on that dialogue. Well, that 20.
Well, let's find out first who this is.
This is the Ishmael Terry.
Go ahead, Ishmael.
There's the one and only.
Happy anniversary too, young
Yeah,
man.
happy anniversary.
happy anniversary.
Yeah, celebrating 6 years of being married to this beautiful, amazing woman. So she accepted me and all my flaws and said I do. So 6 years now that we've been married to each other. And
Congratulations. Okay, let's get to. So, what do you think in terms of say about? Give your thoughts about the mayoral election, and I know the district that you're in. If you want to assess what happened, because you had a real close election for city council in your district.
District 7, we had 34.33% going to Denzel McCampbell and 32%, excuse me, to Karen Witsat.
And Denzel McCampbell used to work for, she was the, I think, communications director for Rashida Tlaib, right. And then Karen Witsat is the current state rep.
The current state representative, of course, is Stephanie Young, but he didn't work for her.
No, I'm saying that she is a current state representative. Not yours, but she's a current state representative.
Not for long until I come into the show again. Did I say that out loud? Well,
go ahead, Ishmael. Go ahead, finish.
So the thing is that yes, we have a primary, and then we have a general election with these two individuals in District 7, which is the second largest district in the city of Detroit, right? And one of the top nationalities inductees in different continents inside of our district. So we have Haitians and Hispanics and so forth. But getting to what I was saying with the mayoral race, you have a choice to your listening audience. You have the establishment or you have the people. The people is Solomon Kinloch. The establishment is Mary Sheffield. That's the choice. Now, being really straightforward, most experienced political figures want it to continue to stay quiet, because the less that you have people involved, all I need is my base. So she has 52 to 54% of the vote. She has a strong base. That's all she needs. And because he has a 17, he has more work to do.
So what do you think then that Kinloch needs to do to be successful in November?
He has to be able to merge both the establishment and the people. He has to be able to talk the language of, I can keep contracts. I can make sure that the Ralph Wilson Foundation will be able to build that park on 4th Street, right? I will be able to keep those condos, restaurants going on that stretch of Hart Plaza. You know, I am the man of the future. Still keeping in mind with the people that's 30 miles outside of downtown, saying the right words of, we're going to tackle the affordable housing issues, the homeless issues, the job market, the only 5,000 jobs that's in the city of Detroit, and we have a double-figure unemployment, and I'm going to work to get that number decreased. So that means I'm going to give you more training, more job opportunities to create a lifestyle for you and your family. And then talk about the small markets and say, hey, we're going to make sure that we get the financial institutions that circulate in your community. We're going to get them to be more yes than no's of giving you business grants and business loans.
Okay,
So
and now Ishmael, because we got to take a break in a second, but I want to ask you one last question. So, what does Sheffield need to do to maintain her lead?
She needs
Just real quick.
She needs to be more attractive. She needs to be more attractive to the people. She needs to, she has the establishment. So now she needs to do the reverse side of what Kinloch needs to do. So she needs to go into the sector areas and say, I was on radio once, and I was talking gospel, and I was doing this, and this is how my humble beginnings started. It didn't start with a spoon in a silver spoon. It started with a wooden nickel, and that I pulled myself up by my bootstraps, just like you have, to create this environment for our community. It's not just giving a bike. It's not just giving a backpack, not bouncing a basketball, but it's life. And I've lived that life long enough in my community, in this neighborhood, and I grew up just like you. Establishing a character that says, I came from the same neck of the woods as you. I know what it's like to have the lights cut off.
Okay, Ishmael, we got to take this break real quick, but if you can stay on till we come back from break, and I just want to get some statistics from you in terms of, say, about the election, in terms of the percentage of people that voted, and then possibly looking in terms of, say, the different demographics, possibly when it comes down to male, female, when it came down to how they voted, and then the percentages of people that stayed home or the people that did not or set this election out. So we'll be right back. We got Ishmael Terry on the line. We've got Joe Person, Norman Clement here in the studio, and I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we'll be right back.
I'm Deborah Geraldine Bledsoe Ford, and I'm going to tell you about Michigan's other first family of law. My grandfather, Attorney Harold Bledsoe, became the first Assistant Attorney General in the state of Michigan. Two of his three children were judges, Geraldine Bledsoe Ford and William Felga Bledsoe. My husband, Attorney Jerome Watson, was one of the first black partners in Miller Canfield, and I became a judge in 2005, following in my family's footsteps.
Muscles, joints, or feet tired, achy, or distressed? Tried everything? Ringmaster Rubbing Oil is a vintage topical pain reliever, trusted for over 70 years, with a rich formula for the treatment of stubborn aches and pains. Packaged in a glass bottle for purity, our liquid can also be used in warm water for foot soaks and compresses. A little goes a long way. Try our time-tested formula, available in several sizes.
Make a donation to WHPR-TV and receive two 2-ounce bottles of Ringmaster Rubbing Oil for $25. Call 313-868-6612.
Claudine Jackson thought she had it all until she was faced with the challenges of raising an autistic child. Inspired by autism is her brutally honest journey filled with heartbreak and triumph. Get your copy and find the support you deserve today by visiting www.claudinejackson.tv.
Every Monday through Friday from 12 noon to 3 p.m., it's the Tavis Smiley Show on WHPR TV and Radio 15.2. Also seen on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, iPhone, and Android. That's the Tavis Smiley Show on WHPR TV and Radio. Download the WHPR TV app for iOS, Android, and Roku. The Tavis Smiley Show, distributed by R.J. Watkins Studios.
Detroit, this is Keith Bennett. You may know me as the original OG.
I am Durrell Woods, the commish.
We're bringing you a new talk show, but it's not the ordinary talk show. This is a conversation show about the issues that's going on around the city of Detroit, Highland Park, and the area.
These hot topics is going to be steaming.
A weekly conversation.
It's going to be on WHPR 15.2. Tune in. I can't wait.
Hot Topics and Logic, coming soon with Keith Bennett and Durrell Woods.
Watching a special edition of Truth to Power, and today we have Mr. Joe Person, Mr. Norman Clement in the studio with me, and we've got Mr. Ishmael Terry on the phone with us. Ishmael, can you give a few statistics, about the election and the people that did, people that didn't vote,
Yes, sir.
and why this is important, that we need to look at these numbers so that we can go and we can improve on these numbers in the general election later this year in November, and especially with the midterm election coming up for governor and senator and some of the state rep seats next year.
Yeah, so first of all, 22% of 774,619 residents went out and voted. As absentee, that's actually on the Wayne County City of Clerks, as well as other media outlets that pushed out those numbers as well. Those same numbers, 22% of the population went out and voted. Look, only 32% of that were women. Think of that. 32% of that were women. 27% of that were men of African American descent. So we talked about that. The number should have been higher because it was been the first black woman to become mayor of the city of Detroit. Why did those few numbers happen that way? One, because nothing about this election was sexy. Nothing. There was no language, there was no proposals, there was nothing to attract the residents to come out of their homes and say they was a part of it. They could have put the curfew that they pushing, that initiative. They could have put a proposal together for that. And that would have got the people to come out of their homes. They would have got the residents to come out of their homes to be a part of the election. But just throwing these names on the ballot is not sexy. And these are not really the people that they wanted to vote for. None of them. Because it clearly showed you in itself that if you only got 54% of the vote to win the primary, and everyone else got 17% and 14% and 9% and 6%, that's a travesty. But y'all also have to remember, we are a welcoming county. We're not a sanctuary city, but we are a welcoming county. So that means we're bringing our immigration influx in 2022 by 27%. And they moved them into black communities. So while you guys are fishing for why the numbers are looking so weak, they eventually in 10 years from now going to be the new minority. They're giving them all of the social platforms that they need. And they're going to be actually your next set of voters, eliminating the black vote.
Well, I got one question. So normally all around primary voting is always low. So we could go from New York, only a little under 1 million people voted. That's why Mamdani got in, and we talk about all over the place. Wyandotte, 19%. So the prediction of Detroit was supposed to be 13%, but went to 22%. Right. That's actually improvement compared to 2021 when it was severely like 9%. And so my question is this: folks are moving in the community and understanding that the dynamics of population with the city of Detroit right now, black population is 13% of the country. If you believe that, then I got a bridge to sell you in Brooklyn. We all know that every black person knows 10 people that don't take the census. We don't take the census for a myriad of reasons. And so the statistics going into this race, especially with Mary and with Kinloch, to me says two things. One, that there's a new population in Detroit of 30% of white folks coming in the city of Detroit.
Exactly.
And so Mary, out there doing the show face, out there doing community work, shooting the basketball. That ground game might have garnered her a lot of support of that 54% to come out. And it may not be an immigrant thing because immigrants can't vote if they're not a legalized citizen. But if they are citizen naturalized, if they see a woman in here who's also out there protesting ICE, that may sway the vote a little bit. Just a little bit. So that for 45 goes to 52. And she knows where it needs to be. I mean, that could be a possibility too.
I would say this to you in response to that. There is okay, remember we had discussed about football, right?
Yep.
Okay. So
and he's still the head coach now. He's still the head coach.
Come a little bit closer to your phone because we want to catch every word you're saying.
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, so let's go Baltimore Ravens, like we discussed before. Mary's role is going to be management. She's going to be a game manager. Her job is not to mess up what's going on with contracts in the city. Her job is not to mess up the constructural contracts, the infrastructure money that has passed through in 2024, 2025 under Biden and Harris. Her job is not to mess that up. They don't believe in Kinloch because they believe that Kinloch will deviate from that. So that's why they're like, well, we're not going to go with Kinloch. Not just because he's a pastor of a church and all of that good jazz. No, because he doesn't have that establishment. So he's talking points that only strikens to the lives of people and not to the establishment. Mary has been through this before. So contractually, she's going to be the manager.
So Ishmael, I just want you now, because we got a couple minutes left before we, have to move on to the next segment. But quick question: 7, District 7. What's your take on 7?
It's the best district ever because I live in it. I believe that District 7 is going through a new transformation between West Warren and you know that we lost Russellwood.
Yep.
In the redistricting line. I think that's going to hurt us as far as money management, right? I think that we're not going to be able to get the historic dollars that we need to continue. But I speak differently on that. But I think on the election cycle, I think that Denzel McCampbell is going to win. I think that people, not talking to the people in the District 7, are not for Karen Winsett outside down, east going to Plymouth because all of her back history. So they wanted to eliminate Bobby Johnson, Regina Ross, and others who was running at the time. Just getting, like you said about the primary, Norm, they just wanted to get rid of the others first, so the general election can point right to Denzel and make sure that Denzel becomes city council member. And that plays a role in what Fred Durhall III is going to do, right? Who is he going to back, right? And usually people who come out of state legislators usually back state legislators. So I will tell you that. So don't be surprised if you see Durhall running around saying support Karen Winsett.
And the reason why that seat is open, and that's an open seat between State Representative Whitsett as well as Denzel McCampbell, is the fact that Durhall left the seat to go and run for mayor. So that opened up the seat so that somebody else then could get elected, to replace in that seat. So, okay, Ishmael.
It caught a lot of people off guard, too, because a lot of people were expecting Fred to return.
Okay, well, now, like I said, we've got 2 people that are in the race, so we shall see what happens. So the main thing is, people in District 7, we hope that they will get out and vote in a lot higher numbers. Ishmael, thank you for calling in to Truth to Power. And again, give your lovely wife, Bridget, happy anniversary to both of you.
And also,
Will do.
accept my most humble Southern apology to your wife, because you're not supposed. Today is your anniversary. You're not supposed to be on this show doing nothing else. You're supposed to be with wifey. So I
her in the background.
apologize for your husband. His wife knows me. I apologize for him. Okay.
Happy anniversary,
Happy
anniversary.
Ishmael and Bridget. Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. You know, now the thing is, gentlemen, is that we've got a lot of work still left to do.
Yes.
As both you have said, Ishmael has said, the work still needs to be done.
The work is this is, and I told a couple of organizers a couple of meetings yesterday, and talking about what's your planning and all this. So you gonna take a break? In my position right now, there are no breaks. If I'm a Democrat right now, working in the Democratic Party right now, as of today, I should not. If I'm an organizer for Democratic Party and I take a break after this midterm or after this working in this cycle here and take a break during November and December, I should be fired. There is no breaks. You're down bad. If I'm a Republican to maintain this lead, I got to keep working. I got to find some common ground. And then also, I got to have a town hall if I'm a Republican. I cannot keep hiding. If I'm John James running for governor, if I'm Tahibi or Matt Hall at the House, I can't dare and say, throw information, lack of whatever, and not speak to the people. You cannot stop running, because when school starts, and these schools in the state of Michigan don't have a budget. We don't have a budget in the state of Michigan. And people are on the chopping block. Parents are not getting the services that they need for their children. Where are they going? They're not going to the school board meeting. The school board is going to point them right to Lansing. And you can't run from that. And so both sides, you have work to do. You got work to do.
The other thing is, I want to get back to this District 7. The Denzel, let me tell you, she's part of Rashida Tlaib's machine. Let's just cut to the chase.
Denzel, yeah.
I'm part of the 12th Congressional District. I've seen what she's done. We, helped get her elected the first time she ran for the 12th. This young lady here is no joke. They gonna do the groundwork. She came from out of nowhere, because by the time everybody else got ready to do something, Denzel was on the ground in, what was it, in January, February, March. The quicker you get out, the more people you knock on the doors. And here's the thing that everybody says when you knock on the door. I knock on the door. Hi, I'm Joe Person, chair of the Southfield Lake, the Real Democratic. What? Nobody has never come knocked on my door. The more people that you knock on the door and press the flesh, as they say, that's a person that when they go into the ballot box, got their AV sitting there, they're saying, well, I met this guy, Darwin Griffin. I met Norm. I met Joe. These other people are my representative or running, but I met them. That's important, gentlemen.
That's very important.
That's important.
In District 7 too, we got to understand that. Also, there's candidates who are running from a state rep position that have some background issues.
Right.
And people know that in District 7. That's why Ms. Ross got so high at that third portion of that district. And so the district wants change completely, not from just us. They were shocked when Fred did not run, but also even the associations with Winsett, with Durhal. Normally, she says state rep goes to, he will work to help that state rep. If I was her campaign or his campaign, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, because independently looking at it, I want to stay far from that. If I'm Durhal, for my next job, I got to stay far from toxicity as possible. I got to stay away from that. And so District 7 is going to be a very, very interesting race. Also, demographics have changed over there also. And so that's the factor that people got to tune in now to see. Demographics are changing in the city of Detroit. And you got to look at that.
He's, like I said, at the end of the day, everybody's auditioning. So he's auditioning for the next job, the governor's race, the U.S. Senate. You got, Secretary of State, Attorney General. There's plenty of things where he could go. So you're auditioning.
auditioning. And I forgot about one thing. We forgot to mention the city at large.
Go ahead.
City at large, Waters and Coleman sweep the field. But
And the thing about it
whether
too is that Waters got more votes.
than Coleman.
No, got more votes than Sheffield.
And so we talk about
Now,
that.
what does that say?
That says, number one, that a lot of folks didn't put up when I was at the AV board looking at doing challenging, we noticed that a lot of people left that top ballot, that mayor candidate, not vacant. And so we looked at that like, whoa, a lot of people are unhappy with the candidates. And a lot of people did not like all the candidates. And so there's another issue about that. And so if I'm running for mayor, especially at large, Mary got more than anybody, then Coleman. But then, surprisingly, you can't underestimate Fred Williams and then also Janae Ayers, who is returning once a council member, returning to get the seat back. And that race cannot be underestimated whatsoever because you had about 30 people running in that race, right, and whatever. And so that race can't be underestimated. And we know that Janae did it with no money. And most of those votes came from the east side. Mm-hmm. And so if she's pulling votes in from the east side and into areas where none of the candidates really go to, what will she do in a long-term campaign, all citywide campaign, where she could get to, I need to get the whole chair? So what does that look like for her campaign, her strategy, whatever? That's going to be interesting. I'm intrigued how she did it.
It's funny you say that because up in Pontiac, they had the library board running. The individuals on the library board wiped out Mike McGinnis and Kermit Williams. One lady got 3,400 votes. So again, like you said, looking at the top of the ticket, a lot of people did not like that voted for the librarian board, did not like who their candidates were for the mayor's race. So we're gonna see. We're gonna have an opportunity to see in Pontiac. We'll have an opportunity to see in Detroit. But folks, we're loving this because the candidates that they have, they got to work. And Mary Waters, let's face it, she's been there. I don't care what, she has been there, just constantly working. Mr. Young is trying to hope that his father's name will help to carry him. I knew your father. I love you, but you know Coleman Alexander Young. Because Coleman Alexander Young, with a lot of the problems that we're having statewide, countywide, and worldwide, he would call a spade a spade. He'd call, like we say, hit 8 Mile if you're not going to do any good for Detroit. Where is that individual that's in Detroit? Where's everybody say now, where's our Jasmine Crockett?
Absolutely, that's true.
Well, and that's the thing, gentlemen, that, we find that in most of these elections, that there's usually, like back, as you mentioned about Coleman, you had Buddy Battle, you had several other people that were the ones that if you were thinking about running for office, you talk to them. You ask them about what your chances are because you knew that you need to get the endorsement from those individuals. If you got an endorsement from Coleman Young, that spoke volumes.
Exactly.
Right.
And you didn't want to run against a candidate that Coleman was endorsing. So you didn't have a lot of candidates, like 13 running for a congressional seat,
right,
or 10 running for a mayoral seat, or 63 running for a school, for school board seats. And that's where the difference comes into play at, when it comes down to the people, that we don't have those individuals that we go to now to get that, like in Southfield or in Pontiac or other cities. We don't have those individuals like that we can run to and say, hey, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think? And now the other thing that I want to address too is why, when you look at the UAW endorsement that they gave to Solomon Kinloch, Did that help Kinloch? What do you think, Jim?
Endorsements. We have to be honest with ourselves now. Looking at this, endorsements don't mean anything if the people don't live in the city that they're running for.
Exactly.
So the UAW endorsement for Solomon Kinloch was a huge endorsement. In years past, that was the gold seal. If Detroit Regional Chambers of Commerce endorsed Fred Durhal, that was the seal. That was it. You're in. A lot of those folks are a part of those clubs, those communities. A lot of those folks that happen to work in the UAW. A lot of them don't live in the city of Detroit. And with politics and everything, with the internet age, with people looking at podcasts, people are aware of the lack of tangibility that they have not seen in Detroit, but they see all the tangible goods downtown. People are not going to endorsements like that. It's about who are you and what have you done for me lately? Have you helped me when I was in my need? Again, we go back to 2020. 2020 happened. I can say honestly, Duggan was on the ground doing the work, out there helping people get meal baskets and getting food services. People remember who you are when you're down. Who was out there with him? Sheffield. In 2021, who was out there again? Sheffield. Again, in 2022, who was out there again with reproductive rights? Was out there? Sheffield, Chantel Deacons, they were out there. And so the thing is that you can't be missing in the battles of the fights that happen. Then all of a sudden, when the dust clears, you rise up as the champion when you got no blood on your sword.
Not only that, Mary Sheffield, during our COVID situation over in Southfield, lent us a U-Haul truck and gave us the food from May until December of that year, every Wednesday and Friday, to help us in Southfield. She wasn't even running for mayor and all of that then. She was just on the city council. She didn't have to do that, but she did. And these are the types of things people remembered. So when a phone call say, well, could you help me do this? You can't say no. You like, because we know what she did. That's the thing. The other piece about Pastor Kinloch, you had a machine that was a lot of the church folk that you galvanized to get behind you. Mary Sheffield had been there working. She's on the city council. You know, she knows a lot of things. She's helped a lot of people. They're seeing you. I didn't know all of the things that Pastor Kinloch did, but because his group that he's working with is a select group. They're the people that his 40,000 attend his churches. Mary Sheffield is dealing with everybody over the whole city. Not saying that his churches are not reaching people in the whole city, but you don't know about it like you know what Sheffield is doing.
Yeah, and even with this loss, even without a loss, you went to the primary. And a good friend of mine, I'm going to keep his name quiet. He said some wild stuff to me. He's like, Norm, if I was him, I'll just bow out and form a level group and let this go ahead and be and have the city come together. I said I wouldn't do that, but if the strategy doesn't change from the camp, if you're now on the ground, you're not reaching out to people, you got to make those decisions, and also be honest with the things that we hear. Are you going to be a full-time mayor, or in the full? You're going to be a full-time mayor and full-time pastor. Those questions are coming up because you can't serve two masters. I mean, God is all overall, but you cannot have the pastoral responsibility of a church, a mega church, and the responsibility of running, living, breathing, one of the top 10 largest cities in the country, the city of Detroit.
Well,
and that's the questions out there.
I'm going to say this. You look at, like we've said, Mary has been campaigning for years. Mm-hmm. Solomon Kinloch was like one of the last ones out the gate.
February.
To announce that he was running.
Mm-hmm. February.
In that time, from February up until the election in August, he accomplished a lot.
Yes. Yeah. You got to give credit where credit is due.
You got to give credit where credit is due.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He was
at the bottom.
Yes. he was at the bottom when it came down to the polling numbers.
Yes.
Now, the thing that was interesting to me was that on election day, there were some people that put out some polling numbers, I guess some exit polls from some of the precincts that they had went to. And they had almost anointed Sheffield as being the winner in that primary. Now, to me, that probably dissuaded some people that had not voted yet to go out and vote. Just like right now. Right now, as you just said, Norman, there are people out here that think that, maybe he should.
Right.
I'm not agreeing with that.
I agree with that totally.
But there are people out here that are thinking she will be the next mayor. And the thing is that look at the city council presidents that we've had in the past. Close, but no cigar. We've had city council, and we've had a majority of females that have been city council presidents, from her, Mayor Sheffield, all the way back to Irma Henderson. And these are some, and I mean, we got some powerful women that were in there. Brenda Jones. I mean, the list goes on and on as far as say about people, Chantel Jenkins.
Right.
So we've had some powerful people in that position, and now we've got to look at, maybe the thing is that people are saying now, maybe it is time. We've come close, city council presidents, but now maybe it may be that time. We got to take a break. So hold that thought, Norman. So we're going to take a break. We've got Norman Clement. We've got Joe Person here in the studio with me. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I'm R.J. Watkins.
And I'm H.T. Henry Tyler. We're moving to WGPR
107.5 HD3. Not only can you hear us,
you can see us.
107.5 FM, WGPR HD3, RadioWeCanSee.com. Block time is available. Get yours. Call 313-868-6612. That's 313-868-6612. Executive producer R.J. Watkins. Program director Henry Tyler. 107.5 FM. WGPR HD3, RadioWeCanSee.com.
Clean up on aisle 5. Clean up on aisle 5. Sounds like my life right now. Just one big mess. What's going on? It's my property taxes. What? I am behind, and I am so worried that I'm going to lose my house. I can pay some of it, but I can't pay it all at once.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm Eric Sabree, the Wayne County Treasurer. The last thing I want is for anyone to lose their property to tax foreclosure. We have assistance programs to help.
For more information, go to treasurer.waynecounty.com.
We're here to help.
Feel good about your future with tuition-free programs at Wayne County Community College District. Whether you want to be in healthcare, computer science, the culinary arts, digital media, or robotics and automation for the next generation of vehicles, WCCCD has you covered. A full range of programs to achieve your goals, fit your schedule, and give you all the support you need to be successful. All of it tuition-free. Now there's something to feel good about. Register today at wcccd.edu.
Detroit, this is Keith Bennett. You may know me as the original OG.
I am Daryl Woods, the commish.
We're bringing you a new talk show, but it's not the ordinary talk show. This is a conversation show about the issues that's going on around the city of Detroit, Highland Park, and the area.
These hot topics is going to be steaming.
A weekly conversation.
It's going to be on WHPR 15.2. Tune in. I can't wait.
Hot Topics and Logic, coming soon with Keith Bennett and Daryl Woods.
You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
to a special edition of Truth to Power. I've got in the studio, I've got Mr. Norman Clement, I've got Mr. Joe Person, and on the line, I've got Mr. Brandon Bryce. Brandon, you're live with us on Truth to Power today. Welcome.
How are you, Darwin? Always good to be on.
Always good to hear your voice, young man. So what's your opinion about how things went here in Detroit on Election Day?
Oh man, you know, I'm in Washington now, and it's interesting because what I'm seeing in Detroit is what I think we're going to see, of what we saw with the Trump-Kamala campaign, is that, first of all, the voter turnout was extremely low in Detroit, which unfortunately has always been an issue with Detroit politics. I personally was a Santel Jenkins fan. I saw she came in third, which was unfortunate because I think that would have been a race to have two women from very different walks of life compete to become the mayor's first female. I think now you've got a guy, Ken Locke, nice guy, family man, but the reality is, I mean, he's had issues. There was questions as to whether he lived in the city. There was questions about his past with abuse, and unfortunately, I hate to say it, unless something drastically happens with the Mary Sheffield campaign, I think it's hers for the taking. The problem is I don't think she is the best candidate to oversee $3 billion of the city's money. I would have much rather have liked to see her in Washington voting, where they don't touch money, but they advocate for it. And so it's unfortunate that, it's fortunate that I think Detroit will finally see its first female mayor. I just wish that Santel had that honor, just given the fact that she'd actually run an organization, run an agency. She's been in charge of, a payroll. And let's be very clear before I stop. The mayor of Detroit is a very unique position because you've got to appeal to the streets and the suites. The corporate community has to trust you. The neighborhoods and the hood has to respect you. But then also you're talking about, again, running $3 billion of the city's money. And I give voters the opportunity to say, who do you trust with $3 billion of the city's money? And should we consider a write-in candidate?
Can I ask a question? Every great Democratic mayor, whether it was Coleman Alexander Young, Marion Barry, Carl Stokes, we could go on and on and on. All of them were rookies when they got into the job of the mayor of the city. Marion Barry had never run anything like that. Coleman Alexander Young had never run. Even though he's a state representative and all of those things, they hadn't run any business. So the point is, when you run for mayor and you're the mayor, it is about delegation, sir. You got to bring people to the table, your expert finance person, your second in command, your third in command. When you say, who do you trust with $3 billion, let's do the history of all women in the world that have come in and have run and won. What's the number one, the first, I bet you don't even know what the first thing they have to do. And I'm going to tell you what it is before you say something. They had to root out the corruption that was already there because men, whether they Democrat, Republican, Independent, it's an all boys network. And I've been going along with this because you don't come over here and look at my house because all of these men are living in glass houses but don't want nobody to throw any stones.
Well, let me actually correct you, sir. So when you look at Coleman Young, who was a Tuskegee Airman, who led a platoon, that takes organization. For someone like Marion Barry, who was a chemist, I don't know if you knew that, but actually had a background in chemistry before he even became a city councilman in D.C., that takes intelligence. And so I say that because when we look at organization skills, 12 years of being a politician, for some, that means a lot to folks. I say, what have you ran? What have you controlled? What budgets have you actually been over? And I think those are the things that Detroiters, and again, this is not a knock, this is just me putting the cards on the table and saying, if I had to guess, if you asked me today, who do I think is going to win in November, I would probably say Mary, because I think that Ken Locke, unfortunately, has had too many issues, and I don't know if he can close that margin. But I'll tell you this, Santel, who was very close on Ken Locke's tail, I think it would have been a much better race because I think for somebody, again, I look at when it comes to the person that I would vote for Detroit, who has actually run something. I mean, whether you want to say Duggan or not, Duggan ran the DMC, so it already prepared him to be mayor. Dennis Archer, at one time was leading a firm at one time, and so I think when you go back to look at mayors who have been successful, you got to say, what have you done, and not, unfortunately, what community events have you put on? That does not resonate when you're talking about, again, managing $3 billion of the city's money, also incorporating the fact that, you're running a city in the era of Trump, where the federal government is literally going to probably gut city budgets. How do you manage with that, and how do you get the corporate players to get involved with your initiatives and your platform?
Yeah, Brandon, actually, I got to kind of agree with you. I thought the matchup with Chantel Jenkins and Mary would have been an exciting matchup. And I think from your perspective and my perspective, the same thing is that so many people got in the race that really hurt Chantel Jenkins. And you mentioned something about a writing campaign, but I may not see that. But
if it works for Duggan, it can work for Chantel.
That's a different. You talking about? Well, one thing it depends. It depends on money, corporate dollars, but also it depends on, again, if something that comes in the way of Mary's campaign that she can't see, or some unforeseen error, it should not happen. But you laid a strategy for what Ken Locke is to say to Mary that, hey, I have ran churches around the state of Michigan. I'm a parishioner, I'm a pastor, I had to manage the budgets of there. That could be a talking point for Ken Locke. But what I'm also interested in your picture about far as the city of Detroit, about this $300 billion deficit that we're going to be hitting next year. What's your perspective on that and the leadership? What did he have to face coming in? Because right now everything is green, and try to, last host person that called in, Ishmael, said that, all you got to do is be a manager and let things keep going. But the fact of the matter is we have a $3 billion deficit that was going to hit next year. What are the obstacles where you see that's coming in next year for the next mayor?
The great Mike Tyson once said, everybody's got a plan until you get punched.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I think with Mary, her biggest challenge, everybody's on the Mary wagon until she gets hit with the federal government saying, we're not giving you any money. Then it's going to be, well, what are you going to do? Because the reality is the corporate community right now doesn't really have a candidate. And I actually agree with what you said, is that, when you talk about dealing with a deficit, that means you got to be bold enough to cut, but smart enough to figure out where are you going to get other dollars from. And unfortunately, the beauty of Ken Locke, and I don't think he has been the best articulate person on this, but running a church is still running a business. And I think he's got to be able to articulate to say, if I can run 5 or 6, I think he's at 4 or 5 successful churches, which means I need to manage the budget, I need to manage deficits, people are employed, then he can transfer those skills over into running the city of Detroit. But the other part to Detroit that no one wants to talk about, we are still paying for a time when Detroit had over 1 million people. The last time I checked, the city of Detroit might be at 600,000, which means we've got to either shrink the city, which people don't like talking about, or we've got to find other ways to bring in revenue to offset that cost. You can't have both ways, but you got to pick which one you're going to do if you want to be realistic about budgeting, because you've got people paying for people that are no longer living in the city of Detroit.
Right, but then also, too, you have to look at it where what mayor's going to say to those corporate council folks, hey, that tax bill that we worked out, we don't have to rearrange that. That debt relief that we have, that practice that we have here, we don't have to relieve that. And then also the citizens of Detroit, hey, folks, I know it's tight, but I got to ask for a little bit more. Those are the questions that at this point you're going to have to.
Let me ask you all this, and this is my question. And again, I know Horace, good man. I know marriage. I've never had an issue with her. But the question I ask is, what have you ran? And Santil can say she ran Thaw. Whether it's good or bad, that's another conversation. Kinlock can say he's run his churches, which seem to have been pretty successful. What has Mary Sheffield ran? And if somebody can answer that question, that will, I think, help, because, again, it's not just about making history. That's important. I want to see the first female mayor. But I also know that at a delicate time when Washington clearly is making severe cuts, we've got to have a mayor that's ready, willing, and able. And I'm sorry, but the Instagram piece doesn't work for me. You've got to be able to show that you can budget $3 billion of the city's money, because we're talking about real people who will be impacted if we don't get somebody in there that knows what they're doing.
Brandon, I just want to ask you this question too before we, have to let you go. And definitely appreciate you calling in. But I want to ask you, give your assessment about the gubernatorial race next year here in Michigan.
Well, I think a couple things. I think the mayor messed up. Also, let me add this real quick before I forget it, and I'll get to your question. The other piece to this is I don't think Mike Duggan, just because he's not running for mayor, is still not in control. And so that's my other conversation is who's bold enough to be independent of the last mayor versus who's going to be controlled by this mayor. Keep that in mind. But I'll jump to the governor's race. I don't know if John James can pull it off. So I'm not sure that a Republican can win it. I do think, though, I think Jocelyn Benson has a shot, only because I think Duggan shot himself in the foot by leaving the Democratic Party. I just read an article in the New York Times. The New York Times that said basically the mayor basically ditched the Democratic Party. Not a good look when you're running for governor. So I'm curious, if he thinks that he's going to win support on the west side of the state, when clearly the west side of the state is not necessarily fans of the east side of the state, which is Detroit. I don't know if I'm running for governor if I would have ditched the Democratic Party as he did, and I think that's going to come back to haunt him.
So who do you think then, Brandon, may come out of the Republican side to run against the Democratic candidate?
I put my 2 cents on John James. Do I think he can win it? I don't know. I'll be able to tell by the primaries, but I would say, if I had to put my money, I would say Jocelyn Benson has a very good shot. Again, given the fact that it's very difficult to run as an independent, especially if you're not a billionaire, and even billionaires don't win as independents.
Well, Brandon, we got to run to the next segment, but I appreciate you for calling in, and we got to have you back on again. So, again, have a great rest of the day, and thank you again for calling in.
All right. Anytime. Stay black and vote right.
All right. Take care. Right. Okay. I think we've got another caller, Tim. We've got another caller. Okay. Caller, you're on the line with myself, Brandon Bryce, who just ended the call with us. So thank you again, Brandon. But you're also on the phone with Norman Clement, Joe Person. This is Darwin Griffin. Can you hear us, caller?
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah. Now we can hear you. Who are we speaking to?
You have Dr. Bonnie Farrell and Theodita Morrow. We're from the Michigan Democratic Party Black Caucus Women's Committee.
All right, well, welcome to Truth to Power, but we just want to kind of get your quick assessment. So what would you think in terms of, say, the next mayor of the city of Detroit? What are some of the challenges that you feel that mayor will encounter once he or she takes the office and takes the oath of office?
Okay, so here's the thing, Darwin. It's going to be very challenging. There are going to be a lot of issues, as you said, and I'm sorry if I repeat some of the answers. I couldn't hear everything that the previous caller. So if I repeat something, then I mean great minds think alike. But here's the thing. There's going to be a lot of challenges, issues, concerns, but there's going to be opportunity. But for us, and as the Women's Committee, we done discussed and had deep conversation, panel discussion, that person, whomever, get that spot, they have to be prepared. They have to be knowledgeable. They have to already be experienced. They need to have the resources now. They have to have the capability, the capacity, the ableness to build relationships and get funding. Because it's a lot of things, like you was talking about the deficit. We also have housing. Some of these projects that the current mayor put in place, they still haven't been realized yet, and it probably might take another 2 years. So the new mayor need to understand that they still working on something that was put in place now. So they have to be prepared for that as well. But most importantly, you have to know that the constituents, the community, the neighbors, all the people in Detroit, we only have less than 17% turnout of the primaries. And we know, I get it, primaries, you don't have a big turnout like the general election. But people are not turning out. They are not getting engaged like they should, like we hope they will. So you still got to deal with those outliers. That's what I want to call them, those non-believers who still don't have faith in our democracy, in our policies, and our structure. So they still have to deal with that. That's going to be an obstacle as well. So we want somebody who has that management capability. I think the previous caller said something about being a great manager. Absolutely, not just leadership. We need somebody who knows how to manage the business, who already built the relationships, already had the capacity and the resources, because that's going to be their biggest challenge. Do you want to add to that?
I concur. That was one of the biggest problems, even in the presidential election, that people don't have faith in the democracy and how things are operating. So you have to restore faith. So I love everything.
You have to restore faith.
So you say you have to restore faith. Is that what I heard you say?
Absolutely. Trust and faith in the system.
Yep. And so I got a question. So trust and faith in the system. And we deal with folks who are voter apathy. And then we talked about probably thousands of folks did not vote for the top of the ticket of mayor. We could also look at the past election, 2024. Thousands and thousands of people voted no vote for the top of the ticket, but they voted down ballot. And so I wonder, is it far as those who are in the community that do outreach work and understand civic engagement, what would you say to the candidates about far as right now, you're those last two candidates, should they be showing their 2-year plans right now, a tangibility of work that folks can actually see in the next 2 years coming from their office? Should they show their plans now and not have a talking point about hope and all this stuff? I understand faith, but you're dealing with dispersed communities. I have been having faith for the last 10 to 15 years, but yet my street light still broke. And so what does that faith look like? Are we faithing in people, or faithing in policy, or things that stuff that needs to get done? What does that look like? That's my question.
Well, for me, what that looks like, and again, and restoring trust, because my lean background is all about waste elimination, and that comes with building leadership. So you got to have faith and trust in your leadership. A lot of people say, well, we hope. I don't believe in hope. Hope paralyzes people. You have to get out there and do the work. People want to see what you have done. You know, a lot of these elections, these people popping up, I haven't heard, don't know their name, never seen them in life. You have to do the work. You have to be seen. You have to know, and I don't mean just, I did this post, whatever. No, do the work. Do the work. And that's how you restore, because it's lead by example. So, did you want to chime in?
I'd say make the difference. We get words all the time. Show up, and like Dr. Bonnie said, do the work. You only get to see the politician doing the campaign, but where are you coming to the community to hear the voices? Are you making the changes? Even if you can't come, are you sending somebody with the agenda to make the change and give dates? Because you, like the light pole, been broke for 2 years. Why? That don't make any sense. You say you're going to do it, and you never do it. So it has to be, the work has to be done. You just can't blow up somebody's ear off to, because you want to, this is my plan, implement it, do it.
And I believe in the scientific approach. You should have a strategic plan, and you should be able to show it. And remember, those strategic plans, not just, you could always, it's a working document. So you can make adjustments and changes and tweak as you go. At least I have a baseline, and I'm able to share it with people. Is there a reason why my light is still out? We got a lot of things going on with the water, and they've been in my neighborhood, breaking down cement and doing some things underground. I don't know. And if it's a reason why, just share it. That's the trust. Just don't let me believe that you're not thinking about me. I'm not important. If it's a reason why my light is still out because it's an infrastructure issue, share it.
Like the lady said about her alley not being clean.
We just went to a meeting yesterday. Lady said she's been asking for her alley to get clean for, 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Everybody else's alley is clean. She's called. She made a complaint.
So is there a reason? So that's the trust that we were referring to, Darwin.
Can I ask you a question? What role do you think the woman syndrome has played in this, in terms of, I'm hearing a lot, excuse me, and I'm just call it like I see it, a lot of men. Haven't heard any women, but I'm hearing men doubt Mary Sheffield's credentials. What has she done for me lately? What business has she run? I'm not hearing that from women. What do you think?
So, again, if we're talking about gender biases, I don't know how to explain it any further. And that's something Anita's very passionate about. Because I don't understand it. If you think about the household, and we done had this conversation, if you think about the household, your moms ran the household. And Chief Williams, the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party, we were just talking about this, having this discussion. So even if we go back in the 50s and the 60s, mothers ran the household, fathers worked. Running a household is managing the household. They creating a budget. They making sure the kids get what they need as far as the education system, transportation. We've got to make sure you have your money for buses and all these things. They are managing the household. That's what women do. And if you look at any great man, I guarantee you his wife had a real influence, an impact on that success. Women been doing this for years. This is what we do. So I don't know how to answer that question if a male have this belief that his mother, his sister, his wife don't have an influence. He's wrong. He's narcissistic, and he needs to. Yes, absolutely. She helped me out because I was going to say something else.
It doesn't. Gender should not mean that if you qualified or not. It's just men tend to not. The society has told men that they are superior to women, and women are the less superiority, and you shouldn't follow a woman.
Stay in the kitchen.
Stay in the kitchen. But that is so barbaric and so untrue and so unhealthy on every side. Because men tell their daughters, well, black men that I know, because I was raised in a black household and I have a black grandfather and a black uncle, I can do anything, get my education, do whatever I can do, and I can become what I want to become. But when it's time for me to become that, you have men saying I can't because I'm a woman. What do gender make? How do gender make someone less qualified?
Are you saying we are emotional?
No. Men are emotional.
Men are, yeah.
Men are more emotional than women.
Yeah.
Just understand that.
A woman will make a decision.
More emotional than women.
Yeah, more men are more emotional. A woman will make a decision
and go for it.
Yep. A woman made a decision on you, but the first time you look at you, men, we try to figure it out. And so I appreciate that you're looking at this concept. And I think right now a lot of brothers, men and gender who made that decision last year are at the FAFO stage right now, and wish they didn't have those biases back then.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies, we got to take a break, and I do appreciate you coming on Truth to Power with myself, Norman Clement, and Joe Person. So again, have a great rest of the day. And we got to have you come back on again.
Absolutely. We'll get y'all straight.
All right. Have a great rest of the day. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a
Bye-bye.
good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Okay, we got to wrap. So I just want to thank both of you for being on the show. We've got Haley Stevens, the Congresswoman, that will be coming on the show with us after we come back from break. So again, thank you, Mr. Joe Person. Thank you, Mr. Norman Clement, for being on Truth to Power today. And let's make certain that we keep an open invitation for gentlemen for you to come back.
Always.
Always
You
open.
can always call me an hour before the show.
Always, no problem.
Well, thank you to Sharon Person for making certain that Joe Person was able to get here on time, and he was on time, on task, and on target this morning. So thank you. Thank you, Norman. We'll be right back.
Hi, my name is Norman Clement. I'm the president and CEO of Detroit Change Initiative, located at 2937 East Grand Boulevard, Detroit, Michigan 48202. Detroit Change Initiative is a recognized 501c3 nonprofit focused on creating a platform that amplifies the people's voice for a collective change. Our website is www.dcimovement.org. You can contact us at info@dcimovement.org. We're a proud sponsor of Truth to Power TV show.
Michael Clarence Jones, poet, author of Reflection of Us, sharing the gift God has given him, loves writing poetry, enjoys people, and feels life is the greatest inspiration. To order your copy of Reflection of Us, call 313-775-0899. That's 313-775-0899. Michael Clarence Jones, Reflection of Us.
Tune in to the I Love the Hustle show, Saturday afternoons at 12 p.m., followed by Mr. Smooth's Ballroom and Steppers Express Dance Show on WHPR 15.2 Detroit, Apple TV, Roku, and many streaming platforms. See you Saturday.
Justice for Mario Willis. Truth. Facts. Evidence. Matter. Log into justiceformariowillis.com. Read for yourself.
Watkins Broadcasting is going worldwide. Now you can watch Detroit's own WHPR on your TV from anywhere in the world. No matter where you are, you can stay in the know with WHPR TV and Roku. You can get your easy-to-install Roku box from wherever you shop for your entertainment gear. Once your Roku box is connected to your TV and internet, go to the channel store on the home menu of the Roku box. Enter WHPR TV in the search engine and add it to your channels. That's it. That's all you need to get the best in entertainment, news, and talk, no matter where you are. Roku brings all of your favorites to your TV. Netflix, Hulu Plus, Crackle, HBO Go, and now WHPR TV, Detroit Live.
Detroit, this is Keith Bennett. You may know me as the original OG.
I am Daryl Woods, the commish.
We're bringing you a new talk show, but it's not the ordinary talk show. This is a conversation show about the issues that's going on around the city of Detroit, Highland Park, and the area.
These hot topics is going to be steaming.
A weekly conversation.
It's going to be on WHPR 15.2. Tune in. I can't wait.
Hot Topics and Logic, coming soon with Keith Bennett and Daryl Woods.
You are watching a special edition of Truth to Power. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and I do want to thank everyone that has either called into the show or who has been on as a guest on my show. So right now, we are looking in terms of at awaiting a phone call from the Congresswoman, Ms. Haley Stevens, that will be calling in shortly. And just wanted to say again that those of you that voted, we want you to make certain in November that you will take people with you to the polls in November. This is not a spectator sport. This is a time that we want everyone to realize everyone has an opportunity to go and vote and let their voices be heard. Tim, do we have her on the line? Okay, looks like we have made connection with one of my favorite people, and that is the Congresswoman that represents the 11th District, and we have none other than Congresswoman Haley Stevens on the line with us. Congresswoman Stevens, welcome to Truth to Power.
I am so excited to be on Truth to Power, and thank you to everyone listening. It's a beautiful day here in Detroit.
Well, it's a beautiful day when we get you here on the show, and we are thankful that you took time from your busy day to be available to talk about various different things that you are doing in and around the community. But first of all, I know that you're making a tour of Made in Michigan manufacturers, workers, and families here in Michigan. Can you talk a little bit about the tour that you're doing, your statewide Made in Michigan?
I'm absolutely so eager to talk about this tour that I'm on. The power's in the name. It is a Made in Michigan tour, and I've been going all over our incredible large state, meeting with Michiganders, going to see small businesses, small manufacturers, talk to our farmers, as you said, talk to our families. And I am doing all this to find solutions to bring manufacturing back to our state, to lower costs and to create jobs. And look, investing in our manufacturing economy and our Michigan workforce and our families is what I've always been focused on. From my time working in the Obama administration on the auto rescue to working 4 terms in the United States Congress, I've been sleeves rolled up to sing Michigan song, and man, oh man, has this tour really opened my eyes to a whole heck of a lot of needs.
Well, you know, we were so thankful that the last time you visited the set here at Truth to Power that you made an announcement that you were really going to seek that congressional seat that is in the Senate. And we were really very fortunate to have you to kind of give us a scoop to talk about that. And we know that you've been doing a lot. You've had your boots, on the ground. You've been doing a lot of work, not just here in the state of Michigan, but also as you represent Michigan in the legislation. But now you're going around to do your tour, what are some of the challenges that you see that Michiganders have that you would like to rectify after?
You are so spot on, Mr. Griffin. You somehow on Truth to Power managed to get the scoop. And it will forever be enshrined in history that I was on Truth to Power for the first time in my career talking about Michigan's United States Senate seat. And I want all your listeners to know that I am putting up my hand to be our state's next senator. Detroit needs a senator. Michigan needs a senator. Michigan needs a champion and a chief deal maker. And one of the things that I have been seeing out in the road is that we have got to do more for people. We have got to get more bucks into the pocketbooks of people in Michigan. And that means making the government, that is all your tax dollars, work better for you. I don't want to see these cuts to Medicaid. I want to make sure that Social Security is approved. I know very well that this president doesn't know the first thing about people living off of Social Security or dealing with the high costs of food. We shouldn't be making cuts to these benefits, and we shouldn't be playing with people's jobs, which is another thing going on right now. We've got incredible special things going on here in Michigan, but what I've noticed from Cadillac to Kalamazoo, all around to back to Southeast Michigan, is we really need some more listening and champion to address these rising costs and to make sure that Michigan is respected at the lawmaking table.
Now, you've seen a lot of things happen since Trump became president. And one of the things that we are talking about, not only on Truth to Power, but I'm sure in a lot of other media outlets, is looking in terms of, say, at this one big bill. I'm not going to say the word beautiful because I'm not hearing the word beautiful attached to this bill. But let's talk about that bill and talk about some of the things that this bill, some of the changes, some of the things that it slashes when it comes down to Medicaid, when it comes down to raising prices and putting the rural hospitals at risk of closure. And what are some of the other things in terms of, say, about a lot of the job losses in the state of Michigan and the gross, allowance that people really have to realize the income levels in their household. And some people may have so many job cuts of jobs that they've had for many, many years. DEI was another, in terms of, say, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So there was so many different things that are looked upon that might be cut. And what is Haley Stevens doing as a congresswoman, and what would she do as a senator to make some changes and to let people know what's at stake?
Well, first and foremost, people need to know the facts. And the reality of this tax bill that came down from Donald Trump and Elon Musk and billionaires is that, similar to what we saw when they were taking the chainsaw through the government, it was make everybody else pay while the billionaires benefit. So this bill was a tax break for the very, very, very few wealthy, and it comes on the expense of working Michiganders. And how I can paint that picture for you is that there's been a $1 trillion slash to Medicaid across this country. In Michigan, 700,000 Michiganders could lose their health care. We're already seeing health care costs go up. I don't know about you, but I don't know a lot of people right now who want to pay more for things that keep them healthy, right? I mean, we're all dealing with these rising costs. Our governor projected that the Build Back Better would lead to 41,000 job losses in Michigan and a $4.5 billion drop in our gross domestic product. And that's just coming from the Medicaid and SNAP cuts. This is not acceptable. So when you ask me what I am doing and what I can do, I am using my voice and I am using my vote, and I'm doing so both accordingly. What they always do with these big bills is they sneak in a little nugget that's like, oh, okay, the new market tax credit or some stuff on affordable housing. We could have done that separately. That's fine that works, but by and large, this is a fundamental economic policy disagreement that I, as a proud leader for Michigan, disagree with. And it is not going to work, and these guys know it. They want to do a get-richer-quick scheme, and they don't want to do anything for our middle class. And we can't be in a country of haves and have-nots. We have to be in a country, like you just said, Darwin, that has true equity, equal opportunity, that no matter what zip code you live in, you can thrive. Detroit is the big, beautiful city. The state of Michigan has so much to afford this country, and we need to be succeeding every chance we get.
And now, one of the things that, Michigan, as everybody knows, this city in Detroit, we had the automotive industry. We have the UAW, United Auto Workers. And what will this bill do to the federal investments when it comes down to the auto industry? Because so many people here in the state of Michigan, especially here in the, Detroit area, work for the big three.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell everybody listening something very important, because yesterday, as part of my Made in Michigan tour, I was visiting Genesco, which is this incredible manufacturer in Romulus, very tied into Detroit. They're doing modular home building and modular development, and it just a remarkable leadership that they have there at Genesco. And this was shared on the news. And the guy I'm running against for United States Senate, Trump's chief rubber stamper, his name is Mike Rogers. And he wants to go to the United States Senate to rub elbows, to clink martini glasses, smile and not lift a finger for our state. He had the nerve to say that I want to send jobs to China. Now, Mike Rogers does not know the first thing about preventing jobs from going to China, particularly Michigan jobs. How do I know that? Because the very cuts that are coming down on Michigan manufacturing in the new areas which we want to compete in, the story of 21st century American innovation, my friends, is seething through the place that we call home. We are leading the world. Everyone is looking at the Motor City. No pressure. We're still building the middle class. We still need to build the middle class. We still need to have 21st century labor unions. And the deal is that when you make it harder for us to do the work, it leaves. How are they making it harder? They're giving us a new trade announcement every day. Not only is that raising costs, Mr. Griffith, for everyday consumers and their Michiganders and their basic goods, it is choking our manufacturers. It is choking the big three. Ford is literally saying 83% of what they make is made here in the United States of America. Why are they being punished for that? And look, the picture that gets painted is the fact that we have profit losses happening. No one wants to see that, because when the employers lose profit, that means the employees don't get the profit share. We see the president cutting a deal every other day with every other country India, China, going at, fine, we got to push back on China, but he's cutting deals with China to buy more for them himself. I have a plan. I have a bill that I want to pass as Michigan's next senator to make sure that doesn't happen, to make sure that we can have these critical materials here in Michigan, in Harper Woods. Eddie Cook is working on that, by the way, in Harper Woods. And he wants my bill to get done. So I don't understand why this president is doing it, except I do. And it's because the billionaires benefit. And he doesn't understand the first thing about what it means to be a manufacturing industrial state like Michigan. Michigan needs its champion. I'm putting up my hand to do just that for us in the United States Senate.
Well, one thing, Congresswoman, I would want to ask you to do, and I know I asked you this the last time you were on Truth to Power, is what are some of the things that people may misinformation about Congresswoman Haley Stevens? Give you a chance to kind of dispel some of the, if there's rumor, myth, innuendo, just give you a chance to dispel any of that you hear. Because, there's a lot of things that people are saying. I'm not going to go into, but I want you to tell the public what you've heard going around the cities, going around the state, and if there's anything that you feel has been a mischaracterization of Congresswoman Haley Stevens, now's your chance to dispel that.
Well, let me just share that I took my first breath of air in zip code 48309. My parents met here in Southeast Michigan. My dad was born in 1945 on Comstock Street in Detroit. He was a Detroit public school teacher in addition to being a small business owner. And my motivation to do what I do is not to have my name in lights. I think I more have a face for radio than anything, but I will tell you my motivation is public service. It is fighting for Michigan. And that is what gets me out of bed every single day. If you can't tell, I am so fired up about what's happening in this state. I am so fired up to connect dots, bring people together, forge relationships, come up with solutions, cut through red tape, and continue to see this incredible story of rebirth and renaissance and activity coming out of Detroit, one of the brightest lights in the United States of America. We want to make America, shine because Detroit is shining. That is what is happening here, and I feel this in my very bones, but it's all enshrined because I love Michigan, I love my state, and I feel called to serve.
Well, now, there's people out here that ask about having two women to represent the state of Michigan in the Senate. Talk to me. Tell me why, if there's anybody that has any doubt about that, tell them why they should dispel that doubt about having two females in the Senate.
Well, the interesting thing about my candidacy is I'm running on my track record of delivering and standing up for Michigan time and time again. And, the gender I am is the only gender I know how to be, and that is what it is. But whether I'm man or woman, my receipt speaks for themselves. The fact that I was just named Michigan's most effective lawmaker, the fact that I roll up my sleeves time and time again to tell Michigan's story and to make sure that Michigan is going to get its best deal. And that, frankly, I have a lot of rapport with a lot of the demographics in Michigan that we need to win. The men who I respect so much, who I've built a great rapport with in the manufacturing sector, from workers to small business owners and the like. And I'm just meeting them where they're at. I've got two godsons, and I'm letting them show me the way of the future for our next generation. And I'm telling the whole story of our whole state. And we do, our men are having good jobs here because of labor. We've got amazing labor leadership, and that needs to be upheld. And it is about jobs. It is about lowering costs for me. And I think I'm the best steward for that activity. And when you look at Mike Rogers and where he is in his career, what has he done for Michigan lately besides move to Florida and then wake up one day and say, gosh, it might be nice to have my name in lights in the United States Senate? It is going to be Haley Stevens versus Mike Rogers. What has Mike Rogers done, and what is he saying he wants to do for Michigan? Because the only thing I have heard is that he wants to rubber stamp Trump. I want to cut deals. In fact, I'm the only one running for United States Senate that, back in the day, I've had bills signed by the last two presidents. I had the building blocks of STEM Act signed, which is an equity bill, by President Trump in 2019. Now, he's changed a lot since he signed that bill because he is coming after STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. He is coming after Michigan jobs, whether he knows it or not. I wish he would come and listen to Michigan business owners and Michigan business leaders. And I know when Haley Stevens is Michigan's next senator, that White House is going to be calling me, and I am going to get the best deals done for our state.
Well,
ask Mike Rogers what he plans to do, because it's a whole lot of nothing.
Congresswoman, I know we've got a short window of time left, but I want you to talk about your critical minerals and rare earth bill.
Yeah, this is a bill steeped in the incredible industry of Michigan and the fact that we have become too dependent for the aluminum, the copper, the uranium, the graphite, all these essential, what starts off as a critical mineral or critical element, in our manufacturing processes. It all goes over to China, and they process it, they refine it, they turn it into material, and they sell it back to us. And 95% of that processing and refining, upwards of that, is taking place in China. This is choking out our costs and our supply chain. So I have drafted a bill called Unearth America's Future Act. This is stuff that I worked on when I was in the Obama administration. It was a topic of conversation, the microchips and the minerals. I want the jobs here. I want the cost to be lowered, and I want us to be able to succeed as a fully integrated supply chain in Michigan for the United States of America, not relying on China. We didn't need to give it to them, and we got to take it back.
Well, now I know that this critical minerals, that we use for like automotive and the military and telecommunications and so on, but the initial usage of critical minerals, we don't really realize just how valued these minerals are, and we need to look at having more people like you in the Congress that feel the same as you. Is this something that you're having opposition or any opposition from other your colleagues to support this bill with you?
Well, I'm trying to get everybody's attention on this. I really think that my comprehensive approach is what this country needs. This came after a year plus of work alongside Michigan businesses, Michigan workers. This legislation has been endorsed by the United Steelworkers and the environmental groups as well. So I'm going to be talking about this bill until I'm blue in the face. I want to do this job because I want to do this work. That is what I am sharing here with you on this today's Truth to Power. We've got a primary election in 362 days, so a little over a year from now, but there's a lot of people to talk to in this state, and the more I hear from people, the more fired up I am to serve them. and to get things done for Michigan.
Well, we definitely hope that you can make Truth to Power in person in the studio again so everyone can see you on the show with me. And I also want to ask you before we get ready to close, a lot has changed since the last time you were here, and I know that I wanted to give your mother a shout out, but I want to ask you the question, Congresswoman, since you've made the announcement, what was your mother's, what did she say to you once you came out and said you were running for this important Senate seat here in the great state of Michigan?
Well, Mom would not be happy with me if I didn't tell you that she says hellos. And you don't do something as big as this without the close coordination and support of your family. And this was something that we really meditated on, that we really prayed on, that we really talked about, because my family has really become a service family. My dad has spent years on his Kiwanis Club. He's 80 years old, still wishes he was in a Detroit classroom. My mom's a precinct delegate. She's so close to so many people all around the Metro Detroit area. I actually sent her to Harper Woods to surrogate on Juneteenth because I was in Benton Harbor at that exact time with Mayor Marcus Mohammed. And, of course, I think my mom knew more people in Harper Woods than maybe I did. She was sort of, razzing me. And, Irma Hayes, who I know you know, she has, gotten hold of some of my mom's paintings.
Right.
She was having them displayed there at that Juneteenth. And my family feels so integrated and so in love with this Michigan moment and this Michigan story that we are in right now. And, we looked at this from all angles. And any big job I've ever taken, I have spent that time talking it through with my mom. And, of course, she remembers those conversations. Like when I took the job as chief of staff on the auto rescue, she'll tell you that I said I was going to camp outside the office until they brought me in, and that I would work it for free if I could do something to help Michigan. And it's always about, how can we do the most good? And all of this has surprised us so much. It is, in addition to being a challenging and trying moment for Michigan because of some of the Trump chaos and backwardsness, it's also the most beautiful thing that continues to exist in our country, and that is our democracy. What a privilege to look across our whole state outside of the district I already represent and that I love so much, and be able to tell people that I want to be your chief deal maker and your chief champion in the United States Senate. I am learning so much, and I am so grateful to have my mom right alongside me for the journey. So thank you for asking.
Well, we definitely wish you the greatest of opportunities to represent the great state of Michigan, and we know that you have a people in mind and the great people in mind when you do the things that you do. You are truly a public servant, and we appreciate you, and we definitely have to have you come back on the show again.
We will. Well, we'll see you soon, Darwin. Thank you so much, my friend. God bless you.
God bless you as well, too.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
And we are very fortunate to have had the Congresswoman from the 11th District, Congresswoman Haley Stevens, on the show with us, and we hope that she will come back many more times in the future as she runs for the Senate seat, the junior Senate seat for the state of Michigan. And just want to thank all my guests, all the callers that called in, and we look forward to having you watch another edition of Truth to Power next Friday from 10 to 12. Thank you again to everyone. Thank you to Watkins Broadcasting. Thank you to Tim. Thank you to Lorenzo. Thank you to Henry. Thank you to Maxine. And thank you especially to our president here, Mr. R.J. Watkins. Thank you again. Have a great rest of the day.